Hello friends, my name is Marines, and I recently celebrated 1 year here on YouTube. Being the kind of person that I am that likes to reflect on these things and celebrate milestones, I figured I'd bring you guys a discussion a little bit about what I've learned in the 1 year that I've been making videos on YouTube. I'll start by saying that making videos has taught me a lot about myself as a person. An obvious reason why is because video making involves video editing, and that allows me to see myself in a way that isn't natural. I've spent hours over the last year being able to watch my face and hear my voice and note my mannerisms. It's kind of like seeing myself through an outsider's point of view, so I know things like the fact that I take noisy breaths in the middle of what I'm saying, or this very Caribbean tendency that I have to click my tongue, and I usually do it before I start speaking, especially if I pause to think about something and I get the words that I want to say, then I'll just start talking after that. Editing those things out are super fun. I also find that I tend to tilt my head up when I speak or tilt my head forward when I laugh. And in this way, being able to see myself this way, I've tried to edit myself in real life, cut out some things that I've noticed were a part of my habit. When I started filming, I had a tendency to say a lot, and this is something that I've been able to break away from. This wasn't something I really noticed until I was editing together my first anniversary video. I thought that I would get all of the ums in my footage and edit them together, and I noticed that I had a lot more of those in my early footage, but not so much in my later footage. I was cutting that habit out. Unfortunately, I feel like what's taken the place of as my kind of standby filler has been so. I'll link a lot of my ideas together using so just at the end of everything that I say, so this, so that, and it helps me process one idea to the other, but I don't like it. Making videos and editing my face has also made me confront ideas about how I present myself. I like makeup and brightly colored lipsticks, but there was a part of me that shied away from making a video if I wasn't looking my best. At the very beginning, I even fretted about whether or not my nails were painted in order to make a video. The funniest thing to me is that while self-reflecting, I would absolutely tell my friends and other people making videos that stuff doesn't matter, that content matters, and that I personally don't note that stuff in other people. Like, I never have thought, oh my gosh, that girl's holding up a book and doesn't even have her nails done. But for myself and the standards that I was holding myself to, I was being stricter. I was being harsher with myself than what I would tell other people to do. I think that was a matter of confronting the ideas about beauty standards that I had internalized and just kind of what women are expected to present as a front. And then, of course, getting comfortable with presenting myself any which way that I wanted to, whether that was hair down or up, nails painted or unpainted, bright lipstick or no lipstick at all. I also learned that I was self-conscious about the way that I speak. The first time I ever made a video, which wasn't for this channel, it was just a little video I made for my personal blog that I posted on my personal blog. I got a lot of comments about my accent, and it was all positive. People trying to be nice, saying, oh, your accent is so nice or so cute or whatever it was. This was in my 20s, my early 20s, and I remember thinking, I have an accent? I get that everyone has an accent in a manner of speaking, that everyone has a specific way of talking, and it's influenced by where you are from, where you grew up, and like for me, where my parents are from as well. Like, all of that stuff gets mixed in there. But truly, up until that point, I regarded myself as normal in that regard. Like, I had a normal accent. English is my primary language. It was not my first language, but I very quickly replaced Spanish as my primary language, and English has always been what I mostly express myself in. So I think from that point, and being on the internet now, really made me self-conscious about the way that I pronounce words. And this is something that I realized very early on. So this past year has helped me kind of get rid of that and become more at ease with just speaking in front of the camera and putting that aside. And I will fumble over my words and say things that I later go back and I'm like, oh, that's not good. But for the most part, if it's a clean take otherwise, I'll leave that in there. And I know there have been times in the authors in the description that I'll just put like, oh, I messed this thing up, and just leave it be. So I've been trying to get more comfortable with not being so hard on myself for the times that I do stumble or I say something. In that same vein, I'm also very very wary of mispronouncing authors' names. I absolutely try to do some research if I'm unsure about the way that an author pronounces a name. I'm not trying to come down on anybody else. We're talking about things that I do and that I've learned across this last year. So I saw other videos where people were very dismissive about the author's name, just like, I don't know how to say that, or they'll be like, blah, 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 and just kind of fumble it on purpose because they weren't sure how to do it. And I understand that names can be difficult, but for me personally, growing up with the name Marines, I knew what it meant for me, for people to try and not to be dismissive. It can be almost dehumanizing when someone dismisses your name or kind of identifies it as weird or strange or other. So I knew what that meant to me, and I just make it a point to do some research and try to find out how the author pronounces their name. Again, I'm sure that I get it wrong sometimes, but I try never to just dismiss the name or to garble it on purpose. Obviously, this channel has taught me a lot about reviewing. I did a whole bunch of reviewing before I joined YouTube, but that was recap style reviews, and this has been more concise about getting my thoughts after I finish a piece and putting it together in a way that I can communicate to you guys. I've also had to learn a lot about balancing my opinion and the way that I can lean towards being snarky. And I think one of the things that really helped me was going to book events and meeting authors, if that makes sense. So there were a lot of times where I saw an author in person and I met them and I enjoyed them as a person and hearing them speak, even if I didn't like their work. And having that experience and just remembering that the thing that I'm reading and reviewing and critiquing is made by a person has been really helpful for me. So I hope to keep trying to maintain that balance on this channel where I am giving entertaining and hopefully helpful reviews while still maintaining a level of professionalism. I think the number one thing that this past year has taught me though is the importance of reading diversely. I honestly, before I came to this channel, did not pay any attention to how diverse my reading was. It wasn't until I joined BookTube and I heard people using this language and using these words that I became aware of my own reading and what it was comprised of. It's so strange to me thinking that now because obviously my heritage is a really big part of who I am, but I had never read Dominican authors, or I had never paid attention to reading other Hispanic authors. And from there, I had never paid attention to reading other people of color or how many women authors I was reading. I've learned how important it is to engage in these conversations because they challenge your worldview. So hearing other people talk about it made me aware of my own habits, and I've changed them since then. And it also showed me as I was engaging in these conversations that I had a lot of feelings about this, and I had a lot of personal experiences to bring to the table. I'm thankful for this past year for all of the things that it has taught me about myself as a person, as a reviewer, and as a reader. I would love to hear about some of your experiences in video making and some of the lessons that you've learned during the time that you've been making videos, or even as part of the BookTube community. If you don't directly make videos, you can either tell me about it down in the comments or make a video of your own. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys soon. Unfortunately, I feel like what's taken the place of as my kind of standby filler has been so. I'll link so many